Okay, so getting back into the application, getting back into the discussion, sorry, not into the application. Firoz, keep adding me if I'm missing something anywhere or there is something that need to be added. Okay, I am little bit of skipping the phase of the GGC because let's not go into the detail because I generally cover this when we only cover G1. So there are a lot of videos that will be available on YouTube. Even we have done a lot of videos where you can see how the G1 works. Basically, in a nutshell, same thing. Young generation will get cleaned, and we will use survivor regions. We will put young generation into a new place, and the survivor will get updated, and then we will promote it to the old region. So you can see the promotion here. The same kind of logic what we apply for the all generational weak generational hypothesis application. Okay. I have already told about the heap occupancy to be 45%. It can be changed if you want your heap occupancy, the initial heap occupancy to be more. I have a bit explained you about the step that how the snapshot at the beginning works. So in the beginning only you mark the liveliness of the block, and then when you have to run your garbage collector, you actually take decision over that. Tricolor marking, yeah, tricolor marking is also important. Tricolor marking shows that okay, there are, this is three colors. Okay, don't feel like where are the colors. So there is a color called black, and there is a color called gray, and there is a color called white. Okay, so tricolor marking will go and scan from the root, and it will try to clean the objects. I will discuss tricolor marking again back into the GGC. So let's not go into the details. So what happens that since many of the phases are concurrent, there can be some garbage collector which can be left as it is into the memory. Okay, so those we say the floating garbage, and you should not bother too much about the floating garbage. The next GC cycle will clean those floating garbages. Okay, going to the short right now. Okay, then there are old phases. We will not go into the detail of the old phases, but definitely all things are available in the slide and available in some of the videos also. Okay, and
And just to add to Vaibhav, this
mhm.
particular slide deck which Vaibhav was referring is available on the Bangalore Jug website, and I'll also post a link to it in the chat.
Sure. In fact, yeah, I am running it from there only. Okay. Uh, Unlike all the old garbage collector, there is something called mixed GC, where what we do is that some of the old generation garbage collector workload can be piggybacked into the young generation. Okay, so I will not explain you in the detail, but just try to understand that when old GC will run, actually it can take a lot of application. It can halt the application for the longer time. So we piggyback some of our work to the younger generation. Okay, so when young generation will be running, actually it do a lot of stuff actually which makes actually old generation garbage collector also to run easily. Okay, so that is what the mixed GC view happens. Okay, the whole detail has been given here. It's a kind of animated boxes which you can see. Okay, so G1 best practices, try to avoid setting too many parameters. Okay, because G1 can start behaving abruptly if you are, as the Firoz explained, if you're not expert in setting parameters, please avoid it. um, Definitely for all the applications, avoid full garbage character. So you should look into the adaptive policy that um, there is something called proactive cleaning. So at the time of like 80% of the heap, right? Adaptive policy. When I ran here, you definitely you can see a flag with something called adaptive policy. Adaptive. Yeah, you can see
Yeah.
adaptive concurrent refinement, right? So you can definitely look for these details of the adaptive, and what happens that at what point of the GC will get full, you will say that let's start doing some work for the collection. Okay, so generally I think that is selected to 0.8. That means if the 80% of the heap will be full, the GC will start doing some concurrent work into the background. Okay, that is what all adaptive policy is all about. Okay, there are a lot of detailed complication of all these things which I am not covering. Sorry for that. Stop the world event will happen, and definitely try to avoid allocation failure, which is very similar to the CMS. Okay, so if your allocation rate is higher than the cleaning rate, that's allocation failure. Okay, and definitely be careful with your humongous region. So just don't keep creating huge objects and just kill that object. Okay, so be very careful with the humongous regions. Okay, these are the slides which I can suggest you that you should read Charlie Hunt evaluation. These are old slide, but as Souvik said that these things hold good even for today. Okay, because I think the garbage first work started somewhere in 2007 or 8. So a lot of slides. Okay, so Poonam works in garbage collector and she write a lot of blogs, so you can see her blogs also. If you see any kind of unexceptional behavior, you can definitely reach to us. Even if you want to know something, you can reach to us and we will help you out. So that's kind of ending on G1 on a very fast track. People who really want to go into the detail and they want to come up back with few questions, you're all welcome. Now, what I'll do is that I will start with GGC because we have only half an hour around time left. So I will move to the next garbage collector and we will see that what is the problem with GGC and what are the problems get solved in the new garbage collector. Any questions, queries, concerns before moving forward? There is nothing into the chat box, so I am good.
Yeah, nothing so far.
Okay. Now you understood a lot of things. So you understood that how the garbage collector started from the old time, from the parallel GC to the CMS GC to the G1 GC. You also understood that kind of stop the world is inevitable. We have to stop the application for some time to clean the garbage properly. Okay. But pause time was one of the most kind of a biggest concerning issue for most of the low latency application. They actually don't really want to see a pause time. Okay, and there are a lot of newly developed GCs like GGC and Sarandova. There are 2 GCs actually working in that area. You can see the folders. So you can see the last GGC and you can see Sarandova here, right? Sarandova has been defined and has been written by Red Hat guys, and GGC is from by the Oracle guys. Both do very similar kind of stuff, and we will definitely go and see into the details of that. So now the latest garbage collectors like GGC and Sarandova, first of all, it is only applicable for big heap size, right? Because these applications really go for almost kind of a pauseless garbage collector. So what these GC claim is that the maximum pause time that an application can have is 10 milliseconds. Okay, so an application running on GGC can never have a pause time bigger than 10 milliseconds, and the same claim is done by Sarandova also. Now, how this magic happens? This magic cannot happen just like that. It needs a lot of heap actually to get that magic done. Okay, so many times it is happened that your whole memory layout can be copied out into the new memory layout, and a lot of things can be done with the older layout and with the newer layout. So a lot of internal magic that has happens with all these things. So should I apply this kind of GGC kind of or Sarandova kind of application to kind of garbage collector to my application? Depends upon your heap size. If you are really ready to provide a bigger heap to your application, you are good to go. No one is stopping you. Definitely you are not going to see any pause. I mean, it's kind of a pauseless kind of a state we are reaching where the pause is very, very less. Okay, now let's get into the detail of GGC. Okay, so these are all kind of 1 hour of presentation, but let's try to make it simple. So I will not going to cover into the basic of GGC. But yeah, this slide is like at a glance, I have explained you serial GC, parallel GC, CMS, G1, right? And you can see the features of all those things. So CMS being a copy and being a mark and sweep, but when you are went with the G1 GC, actually you can see the compact I have also added, because G1 GC is very good in compaction because the blocks get compacted, not the kind of complete memory get compacted, right? So blocks need to be get compacted. Now, when I will come to GGC, actually you can see that there is no young generation kind of because what I'm going to break is that I will break the idea of weak generational hypothesis, right? So with the basis of weak generational hypothesis only, we were dividing into young generation and old generation, but now that is gone. Okay, because since the GC is so fast, we really don't have to say like, okay, guys, go and run into the young generation more often and then run into the old generation. So GGC and Sarandava is a single generational GC. Okay. And it is marking and it is compact. Okay. It is marking and it is compact. So it do almost everything concurrently. Okay. It almost do everything concurrently. Can we do everything concurrently? Yeah, there will be pause time, but as I told you, the pause time will be less than 10 milliseconds as defined. And one of the most important garbage collector, which most of the people don't use, and it came into JDK 11, is called Epsilon GC. Epsilon GC is very beautiful garbage collector because it actually don't do any work of the garbage collector. So garbage collector will have two work: assigning objects and cleaning the objects. So Epsilon GC only do the work of assigning the objects. Okay. Now you can be surprised that why this kind of garbage collector is required, but there can be many uses. It can be used in a lot of microservices which we know that it can never cross the heap size of particular level. So no pause by the garbage collector. You can think as it is. No pause by the garbage collector. You are writing a microservice, say like which are kind of stateless. So you are not really writing anything to them into the memory. I really don't want garbage collector to do that. I can use Epsilon GC. And one of the other important use of Epsilon GC is to do the benchmarking, right? Because as one of the question has been raised previously that, okay, what will happen at 1.1 second and all. So what happened that most of the benchmarking can be done with the Epsilon GC. Since Epsilon GC don't do any garbage cleaning work, your application will not get any pause. Okay. Let me show you the Epsilon GC before going into the G1 GC. Sorry, there is a deviation though by, I think I have ran morning JDK 9 will not work out. Epsilon GC need to be just give me 1 second, guys. Okay, JDK 15 is in the early access. I can take JDK 15 content. Let me check.
So while Vaibhav sets up his workspace for Epsilon GC, please take your time, Vaibhav. Just for a refresher for everyone else, we have shared the different links of the presentations, both the presentations Vaibhav is referring to, and some reading material on garbage collection as well as G1 GC. Please go through the links which are available in the chat window, and whatever additional information we feel is essential or good for the audience to catch up on. I know that it might seem to be a bit of overwhelming that you're seeing quite a lot of links. So you can take your time, curate what you feel is important, and then start looking into it.
Yeah, so I am good. I am good. Sorry, Souvik, if I stopped you in between.
No problem. Please, I thought I'll give you a bit of a breather.
I am also like,
takes time to set up stuff.
I am also like GC, so I can stop you anytime. So okay, now no flags to set, just Epsilon GC, and definitely it's experimental feature, so you have to unlock the experimental feature. GC logs are still on. I am running the application, and application will run, and application will do whatever it want to do. You cannot see any GC activity other than allocation. Allocation is good. I can do the allocations. No GC activity. At least do some allocation. Let me change some gradient colors and yeah, something happened. So basically, I can show you the same thing on JMC also. So you can see that the heap usage will go up, it will never come down. Okay. So Epsilon GC get called and only the heap usage has been increased, means the allocation have been increased. Okay. So what happens if the heap usage will be under limit? So what I can do is that let me try to set say 500 M, right? I hope that this application need 500 M at one point of time. So now if this application will go beyond 500 M, the Epsilon GC will say you're out of memory and it will just close the application. That's my understanding, at least. So, okay, it is allocating. So you can see the allocation is going on. Let's get into the gradient change and all, like where the allocations are higher, some more different. Okay, allocations are going higher. No, crash. How much allocation happened? Oh, we are still on 51% only. I think I have to reduce my.
You have to really break the application.
No. I don't have to break the application. I believe on. Let me go to the J file chooser. That guy, I will give a big heap from. Yeah. Load my picture. Okay, some picture I was running something. Source code. We are on 80%. Where is that? Window went. Okay, the window moved to other side. No, not a problem. So, yeah.
Well, while you try to increase the memory allocation, I think there was a question from Satish, and I might ask Feroz to hop in between, so you can do it at leisure. You can take your time for this.
Okay.
I think there was a question from Satish.
Wait. I reached 100%. Just let me crash the application.
Great. That's good.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just give me 1 second. Okay. Some parameter change, and we are good. Here you go.
Yeah.
Okay. So after 500 M, actually, if the application demands something, it will just go out of memory. It is as simple as that. Very good for your stateless microservices, because you are not going to increase your memory. So good to use. But you need to be careful because it can stop the complete application. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I think.
I think the question was that Satish asked that is Epsilon good for serverless, and I would let Feroz address that question.
I think the intention of the Epsilon is to,
I'm sorry, Feroz. Could you speak a bit loudly? It's a bit low, the voice.
Yeah, sure. So the goal of the Epsilon, as Vaibhav mentioned earlier, it is to define the base for any GC algorithm. So because what it does is like it allocate memory, but it doesn't deallocate, or it doesn't consume back. So most of the GC algorithms, like what we have, CMS, G1, ZGC, parallel GC, Shenandoah, whatever, if you take, right, so they all define like how you reclaim the memory back. But the basic thing like allocation, everybody does. So Epsilon also does the allocation, but it doesn't do the deallocation. It leaves back to the developer if they want to define any new GC algorithm based on that, so they can still define. The second thing is that why it has given for us that what we can do with the Epsilon, because it doesn't do any memory reclamation. So for example, like I want to do a performance benchmark with my application, and I want to see like what is the memory limitations of that application. But now in Java, if you take, right, GC is running underneath, and you won't be able to get that exactly, because you don't know like how much GC has reclaimed back, and that is a bit complicated thing. So what you can do, you cannot stop the GC, right? So GC is controlled by VM. So using Epsilon, it is like you are not using GC basically. You are just allocating memory and you are not deallocating. So that way you can see how the performance is, your application, what is the max level. Now whatever Vaibhav showed application, right? So you perform a lot of operations, so you can see that which operation is causing how much memory, right? That is one thing. Second thing is that you can define, for example, I want to set max limit for my application, how much max heap it can take. And my application, I am pretty much sure that it goes for 2 hours. So that way I can, without using GC, I can see how much memory it can go. And then I can define XMX value based on that. So these are all the purposes Epsilon has been defined, and you can use that to fine tune your application and get to know what exactly the memory limitations of that. So that way you can find out, and then you can use any GC algorithm and you can set the memory.
Yes.
So Do not use it
so
for applications.
Yeah, the one point that you mentioned, that is perfect. Actually, that's clear. That is like, if I really want to understand how much of my how much of memory that is being created for my application, then this will give me a benchmark. But my question is like this: we have cases like, for example, batch process, nightly process. We will just start the process, we will kill the process. Okay, we know that it is going to run for 5 minutes only. It's going to start a Java application only for 5 minutes. In those cases, shall we run with this particular garbage collector where the performance will be better, and at the end of 5 minutes anyway you are going to kill the application?
Yes, Satish. So sorry, Firoj, you want to cover?
Yeah, you can still do that, or
Yes.
even if you take G1 parallel GC and all, right, even if you have a lot of memory and if you have fine-tuned it properly, like accuracy percentage and all, right, so you can still let your application not at all get into GC. You can still do that, but if you want to use
Okay.
Epsilon, that is also
Yes,
fine.
yes.
Okay.
Yes. So Satish, as I already said, that any kind of a stateless applications, or any kind of, as you mentioned, serverless application or someone else application, if the application is just going to do work for very few minutes or something like that, and the application is not going to claim lot of object, or it don't need actually a lot of object, Epsilon GC can be used. It's a perfectly good match.
Perfect.
Okay. Yeah. So we deviated. Sorry. Go ahead.
Sorry. There was another question from Sanjay, where he's comparing Epsilon to Azure JVM, which says that it gives a heap size in terabytes and doesn't do garbage collection. Is that a fair comparison?
Which version of JDK Azul? Which version of JDK?
Sanjay, if you could pitch in.
Sanjay, I think you are talking about Jing GC, which is equivalent to GGC, but not equivalent to Epsilon. Epsilon is so Azure Jing GC actually claims the same thing which GGC claims. Like they said it's a pauseless GC, but it has a very small pause. It's just like less than 10 milliseconds. And again, just like the G1, the GGC, the Azure GC also have a very big heap size required. Okay, so we are anyway going into the detail of. So don't get confused with the Epsilon GC. Epsilon GC is to just run very small applications. If the memory will get over, Epsilon GC will say out of memory and it will close the application. Okay, so that is experimental thing, can be applied for benchmarking, can be applied for a small microservices, or can be applied for some small stateless application, not for the big applications. Yeah. Okay. Let me get into GGC now. In respect of time, we will go a little faster. GGC. Okay, this is the details of GGC. GGC can never exceed a pause time of 10 milliseconds. Okay, GGC pause time has no dependency on your heap size. So doesn't matter that your heap size is 2 GB or it is 2 terabyte or it is 20 terabyte or gigabyte. It will never perform a pause more than 10 milliseconds. Okay. So it can handle a range from few hundred megabytes up to multiple terabytes, gigabytes also. Okay. What is GGC? GGC is a concurrent. It is a region-based application, region-based just like G1. Okay. Though the GGC region is little bit more trickier than G1, but the region-based. GGC is compacting. Yes. How we do compacting? We do in-state compacting. Compacting is one of the places where actually the stop the world event happens. But we do in-state compacting. In-state compacting means you can think like replicating the memory and then doing compaction. It is NUMA aware. Okay, so NUMA aware, people who understand NUMA, it's very good for you. People who have very basic knowledge of NUMA, actually it's a non-uniform memory access. That means the heap line or the memory line actually, right, will not be connected centrally to all the CPU. Okay, so every CPU will have their own memory lines. Okay, so you can think like every CPU will have their own local memory. Okay, so they can go and they can use those memory actually for the work which is done inside that processor. So if it is P1, P2, P3, P4, P1 processor or P1 core will have its own memory, and P2 processor will have its own memory, and definitely all the processor line will be connected to each other, because if you are not getting into the P1 memory, you have to go to the look into P2 memory. Okay. So that is the NUMA architecture. Okay, so NUMA architecture, you can read into the detail. Even I think G1 respect NUMA. And why garbage collector have to respect NUMA? Because when you are allocating the memory, you need to understand that I should allocate into the local memory of that particular core. Okay, so it is very important for GC to respect the NUMA architecture. Okay, if it is a memory required for the P1 processor, you cannot allocate into the P2 local memory area, right? So that's why the GC need to understand the NUMA architecture. Okay, it is again based on the tricolor pointer, which we have discussed before, and it uses load barrier. So load barrier, I think we have discussed a bit in concurrency, and generally we discuss a bit into kind of when we discuss save points and all, but let's see the basic understanding. So GGC region base are little bit different than G1. So it has like 3 kind of regions. So it has a small region, which is 2 MB. It has a medium size region, which is 32 MB blocks, and it has a large region, which can be any n into 2. Actually, it can be like 84 MB blocks, or it can be 100 MB blocks. Okay. The details of the region is explained here. No, not on that. So I just put link onto the code because few people understand pages. Page. Where are the different pages? Yeah, so yeah, here you can see the GGC pages. Okay, so it will explain you all the pages that are required. So some people understand code much faster. That's why I just put the link that if you really want to go and see to the code, you can go from there. So yeah, details are there. It works on something called multi-mapping. Again, I will not go into the detail, but because I have to explain you that how the OS thread switching happens into that. So if the frames are allocated, if the page fault will happen, then how the thread switching happens. We will discuss the complete detail of multi-mapping, tricolor, and even the load barrier into one session, because that will take like count a 45-minute time for me. Okay, so the physical memory and the virtual memory, because physical memory is limited and the virtual memory, actually you grow up that memory, right? So whenever there is a demand from page table, you directly go and look into the virtual memory. So lot of things I have explained, almost all the things. Okay. And yes, multi-mapping link also I have given, where you can directly reach to that part of the code and it will explain you. In fact, this diagram, I have taken it from the source only. Yeah, this is precisely that, how it is addressing the, like if your memory is from 4 to 8 terabyte, how it will address, and 8 to 12 terabyte and 16 to 20 terabyte, how it addresses all the different terabytes. Okay. So, and this is actually a virtual memory addressing. So let's not go into the detail. Again, the color pointer, I will say let's not go into the detail. Okay. Same with the load barrier. So we give me one different session to explain this 3 fundamental aspects, because again, this 3 fundamental aspect required a bit of operating system understanding, that like how the physical memory works, how the virtual memory works, and all those kind of things. Okay. That's why I am not going into the detail.
Sure, Vaibhav, I'll make a note of it and we'll arrange for something.
Sure. Load barrier is again very important, because you know always that the JIT code and kind of garbage collector, right? The JIT is the compiler which optimizes the code, and the garbage collector. So they always need to be keep communicating with each other, right? Because the garbage collector, the JIT compiler have the capability to change the data structure, right? So JIT really have to tell that, okay, I am changing something here. Please don't go and do a garbage collection, because this data structure has been modified by me. Okay. So that is the reason that why we put a lot of barriers actually, so that the application can understand that the garbage collector threads can understand that, okay, don't go into this area to clean the object. Okay. So you can see for the C1 barrier set here and the C2 barrier set. So both the area have different barrier set. I have explained all the things into the detail, like how the barrier set work. And I unfortunately don't have a recording for this GGC. If you want, I can do it in home and I can get into that. Again, all the phases of GGC has been explained, and you can see the GGC also have 3 stop the world event, right? And these stop the world events are definitely very, very small. Okay, no stop the world can be bigger than 10 milliseconds. Okay, and this is basically the understanding. The 3 vertical lines are actually the stop the world, and all the horizontal lines are the application plus the garbage collector running, right? So most of the phases are concurrent mark and remap, concurrent reallocation, and concurrent preparation for the reallocation. All these are concurrent phases. Okay, the 3 very, very small pauses are there. This again I will explain you in the detail, very similar to how it works into G1, right? So you can see the details. This is tricolor, this is relocation phase, and after reallocation phase you can have the tricolor marking, and these are the links. Any link can explain you. Give a try with the concurrent GGC link, this one, or if you are really interested, I don't mind that. I will just record the complete GGC and can give you. Okay, and definitely go for this guy benchmarking report. So he do a lot of benchmarking report. I have shown you each few of the JIT benchmarking. So he has done Shenandoah and GGC and the first garbage, right? And he is trying to explain you that what works better where. Like that was one of the questions, right? So he has taken like the read write barrier kind of code and different kind of codes, right? And it has tried to do the benchmarking. Okay, what will happen if I'll burst the heap memory? Okay, and different kind of benchmarking. So he has explained the code, and it is not only the code here. You can go to his GitHub and it has a lot of explanation. So I am very sure that somewhere the GitHub link is also available into the down. Okay, so you can see for each and different kind of memory allocation what performance. So you can see the G1 GC performance, because the operations per second is also very important, right? You need to look for the throughput of the application, the Shenandoah and GGC performance, all those kind. And then finally he has concluded few things with that. Okay, that what is good at what kind of situation. That's it from my side, but I will also show you that how the GGC can be run. GGC also need a unlock experimental VM option. What is that? Right, so again the same beautiful swing set 2 application, and you can see a lot of interesting fact into the GGC. I'll tell you, just one second. Let me just navigate a bit onto the application, that something should come out. Okay, that's good enough. So we were still into the warm-up phase, and GGC really, okay, it will tell you that you are using GGC, and it will really not tell you the time that has been used to done this phase. Okay, because since being very less time, actually that's kind of a useless information for you. Though we can have few flags which we can get and see the times, but no time will come more than 10 milliseconds. So don't worry that it works whatever it claims. So it can tell you the warm-up phase, and most of the time you will see adaptive policy working on it, and active cleaning will be working on it. Means whenever it will even reach near to the garbage collector, just like the G1, it will start cleaning much before that. Okay, so when you will run little heavier application, you can see. So now the idea is that, okay, we are less with the time. You are running an application. You should understand that what kind of application you are running. You are running an application which has huge memory, terabytes and gigabyte kind of memory. Better to go for GGC or better to go for Shenandoah. there are a lot of benchmarking done between GGC and Shenandoah, so you can see that which one is the reports are good. Okay, and if you are running a normal kind of application with like 1 GB, 2 GB kind of heap space, 3-4 GB kind of heap space, for you heap space is very important, then better go for GGC. If you are running few older application and you are running with either CMS or the parallel GC, your application is working fine, let it work fine, no need to touch and tune it. Okay, so this is how the things are. Here I am finishing my talk for today, and I will just leave 5-10 minutes for the questions.
I think Weber, one thing which has changed in Java 15 is that ZGC is no longer an experimental flag, right? You can use it without the experimental flags.
Let's do it.
I think so, because
running,
I think you didn't.
I'm running JDK 15. So if you are right, still call for Sunlock experimental VM options.
Okay.
Let's see that whatever you claim can be true.
Because I remember Chandra mentioning it yesterday.
15 JEPs. If you are saying JDK 15 have changes, then we can directly get it from here.
And I think it would be great to
GGC. GGC. Just 1 second, guys. Kritik.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, a lot of change has been done about the uncommitted features, and GGC still seems to be experimental.
Let's just change it from experiment to product feature.
So yeah, so I will check it out. That it is still not a changing the garbage collector from experimental feature into a product feature. That hold on. So let's run onto the command line. That can be get to know by the command line. So nothing are getting greped for GGC because so now I am grabbing all the
experimental options.
Yes. So no, I don't think so. There is G. There will be thousands of things, so that's why I don't want to grab on G. Sorry. This is not. We are not using JDK 15. Sorry. Workspace JDK 15. And home bin. We are. Oh, sorry, Java. Go. UGGC is still false and it is still experimental, but I am sure that I am using old JDK 15. So if I'll take the new JDK 15 and your bug which have said it is delivered in JDK 15, which version I need to check
50.
it out? B50, is it?
It says release 15. So I believe you have a 12 somewhere. I saw 12 on your command prompt.
Yes, so I'm working the build 12 of JDK 15. Right?
So
and it has been
probably
it has been delivered much after that, so that's fine. That's why it is not coming out. So as you said, right, it's become a production version. Okay, thank you. Any other questions, guys?
And I think it would be a great time to explain the audience what a JEP is, because I think a lot of us may not know.
Souvik, let me stop recording first of all, actually.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yes, that would be helpful.
Not any meeting.